Good evening and welcome to this edition of The Link this week. Thank you very much for joining us, and we try to keep our side of the promise to give you information that you can use, including opportunities. And yes, we get some good feedback for those who can even reach us. And today I told myself I need to share my email address so that in case you want to share a comment, a thought, but also if you want us to discuss a certain topic, you can write to me. And my email address is SSETTUMBA. Let me say it slowly. SSETTUMBA@gmail.com. Setumba with triple S and double T. Tonight we're discussing pricing of goods and services. How to get it right. You might price yourself out of business or into business and big time if you get it right. But how to get it right? That's our discussion tonight. And my guest is Miss Nicole Letaru, career and portfolio strategy consultant. She's here to teach us. As I said, we are always in class. Take note. Nicole, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Career and portfolio strategy consultant. What do you do?
I basically work with mid-career professionals, and I get to help them utilize their skills to expand their sources of income beyond just the 9 to 5 that they have. Yeah.
So I know that you in services, which is what you are doing, which is services, but you're also in products.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Let's take the first question. If I am considering doing pricing for a good or service, is there an organized way to do it, or I just follow my gut feeling?
There's an organized way to do it because pricing is actually the backbone of any business.
Yes.
For it to survive, for it to thrive, then you need to be able to get your pricing right. And for me, I believe there's a structure that comes with pricing. First off, one of the key things that you need to look at is look at the cost of production, depending on whether it's a product or a service. Because you're going to incur, obviously, the materials that are going to be used to create that product. And then you're going to also have things like rent, utilities, maybe internet, water. So all those things are key factors to consider.
Including tax.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all those are key factors. Then the other one I believe also is location. Location matters. Because now, for example, assuming you have a boutique maybe in a university area, maybe such as Chikonyi, and then we have maybe one in a suburb like Chisasi or Ntinda. Obviously, the prices are going to be different.
The students are more tricky.
You know? So those kind of things are basically things that you have to look up to. And then, of course, also do your research, because I believe with researching, it helps you also get to know what your competitors are charging for maybe similar products or services that you're offering. So in a nutshell, those are some of the structures that I believe you can be able to put in place before you begin to set your prices. Okay,
you said research in an area like what my competition is doing. What do I do? Do I pretend to go and buy or what?
You know, there is I think for me personally, I'm a huge window shopper. Sometimes, even if I'm not going to buy something, I can just go to the store and look to help me see the prices, compare prices. Other times also, I believe, even when you speak to people, maybe what was their experience using that product, that service, and even you yourself also buy it, so that there you're informed of the current market prices. So
I might decide to buy.
Yes.
If it is a boutique, I go and ask, I need to buy this dress, but I am just sampling. How much is this?
Yes.
I'm asking questions, doing investigation.
Yes. You know? So, undercover.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the service. Pricing of goods, based on what you have described, can be easier, I believe, than a service. What's the difference between pricing a product, a good, and a service?
For me, I believe that main key difference, first off, pricing a good is more easier than a service.
Yeah.
Why? Because with the good, remember, depending on whatever product it is, maybe I'm buying a soda, for example.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the soda immediately, maybe to quench my thirst. I already know the outcome. But for a service, it's tricky because I may be offering you maybe this long-term value, but at the end of the day, it's even not a guarantee whether you'll actually get that value. So that means there are a lot of things that I have to put in place.
Yeah.
You have to look at the expertise, you have to look at, you know, you just researching, maybe putting yourself in someone else's industry so that you're able to produce that value at the end of the day. So for me, some of those dynamics I feel like make servicing more complicated to price than the goods, which are already finished products.
Nicole, you're in service mainly, based on the title you give us here. What were some of the challenges you found when you were pricing a service? And this is, I am going to be, for example, I'm a professional counselor also, and yes, these days we have some reference prices, but then we used not to have them, so you don't know what you're going to charge. I mean, what are the challenges of finding pricing, especially for a service which you can touch?
For me, earlier in my career, that I think one of the key things that I really struggled with was pricing. Because, you know, in the beginning, I think also one of the key major things that affects a lot of people, not even me personally, is we tend to price first of sometimes due to comparison. Because now, for example, maybe for you, you might be charging, let me say, 100,000 for your service, right? But there is a reason why you're charging 100,000, maybe because of your level of expertise and maybe because you've been doing something for quite a long time. And then me, I come, probably I'm still new in the market or I still don't yet have that enough trust from people. And now I want to charge 200K to kind of compare myself with you.
Me, yes.
But we are not on the same level. Our chapters are different. So that's one of the major mistakes that I see can affect pricing. And then the other is also due to fear. Sometimes you might feel maybe, oh, okay, I might actually lose clients. So probably let me undervalue myself. Let me even make it more cheaper so that I can attract more people. But then also you have to keep in mind that as you're pricing, it's also going to compromise on the value that you're going to give at the end of the day.
Okay. What is the danger with, you talked about underpricing. What's the trick with underpricing?
Underpricing compromises.
Your service, Nicole, and you underprice because there's somebody who you want to, you are mirroring them, but then you think you want to steal clients, if you like, from them.
Honestly, I think underservice for me brings a lot of, now like me personally, I've had to deal with lack of confidence, if I can say, because now at some point I started feeling like, maybe what I'm doing is actually, I think I'm gambling on these streets, you know? So there was a lot of fear that came due to trying to maybe make my services so low so that people can afford and to also trust me. And in the end, I ended up underpricing myself. I think also the other thing as well can also be due to the fact that you also want to get quicker clients. Because at the end of the day, remember, for you to even scale, you're going to need people who have tested your service or your product. So now, sometimes if you don't underprice yourself, it becomes hard to attract people. Because anything related to money where I have to remove my physical cash, it's tough. So sometimes I think there are those dynamics that also come in underpricing.
Okay, and as you were talking, it made me think. Here we're talking about services, but there's services like hospitals. But hospitals, I would say, they will say medicine, payment of staff, utilities. So there is some kind of reference for pricing. But then there are services which are not as easy as, for instance, if I do hair. I do hair, yes, a bit of hair product and the way I work, but it might be tricky with depending on the environment and the place where you are. Yes. So, in a nutshell, before we leave this point, especially for services, what is critical for me to price a service apart from my cost? Take away. What did you use, Nicole? Let me talk from your experience. Yes, there's the cost. But if you're after paying the cost, how do you determine that this is my markup? That's a subjective element.
For services, it's really tricky. But I think for me, okay, personally for me, with my own experience,
Yes.
there are a lot of key things that I always like to put into consideration.
Yes.
As I think I'd said earlier in the other previous points, that time, I look at also my internet, because
Yes.
I'm going to spend internet doing your work, so I have to consider that cost.
That means you are tracking the cost.
Yes. I have to look at power,
Yeah.
because I'm going to use electricity to do your work. And even the time that I'm going to do my research, trying to put myself in your industry or in your shoes to deliver a good service.
Some people think, Nicole, sorry to interrupt you there, that I'm doing these things at home, therefore I don't need to cost the things.
Yeah. Yes, actually some people always take those things for granted, but you see at the end of the day, when you don't put those things in consideration, because even me, that also happened to me.
When you're working from home.
Yes, because I was like, but now I'm not even incurring transport, Katia, But then later I realized, but now I have internet, I have power, so who pays for all those costs? So at the end of the day, it helped me to kind of slightly price my services so that it covers for these other costs that I have to incur. Because also sometimes you have to even use tools like Zoom, maybe if you're having those physical meetings. So all those things have to be put in consideration. Sometimes a client can want to meet you physically. Where are you going to meet? Transportation, time. So all those have to be put in place.
Thank you so much, Nicole. In our first part, we're going to take a break. We're discussing pricing, and I'm thinking you are thinking, maybe that is me. Yeah, pricing is not easy as we're discussing. Goods maybe, but service is more tricky. We come back after the break and continue the discussion on pricing. Don't go away. Welcome back from the break, and when you went away, we were discussing pricing, how to get it right, pricing goods and services. Not very easy a subject. For goods, maybe you are working out your cost and all those things and say you do a markup. But in services, how do you do the markup? Might be difficult. And my guest tonight is Miss Nicole Letaru, career and portfolio strategy consultant. She does help people, and she's also an entrepreneur. So Nicole, when might I get the pricing wrong? And why may that be dangerous? First of all, let's ask, how may I know that, my pricing is wrong?
That one is tricky. Honestly, I think there's really no particular formula to know that you're pricing wrong. But I think now how you get to know it is eventually with time from experience. For example, now with my own journey, I remember, because I have a retail shop also, and we have some goods and products that we sell there. And while I was there, I remember some of the products that we were selling, things like, of course, some soda, biscuits, soap, just a normal retail shop. I got to notice that, but I think we are overpricing compared to other people, because most of the customers who would come would always complain, but you people, why are your prices always high? And yet...
So that's customer feedback.
Yes. And yet, your other competitors around, their prices are a bit lower than ours. And when we try to explain to them, no, you see the people who deliver for us, also they are high, so we have to... People somehow did not really fall for that.
So you are losing customers.
We were losing customers, a lot of them. Because now I remember there's a time we bought like a bar of soap. That was this one's White Star. And it took almost 3 months.
To buy?
Yes.
for customers to buy.
Yes,
Wow.
for it to actually get done.
Yeah.
Why? Because ours, we were selling a bar at 2,200 and our neighboring shops were selling theirs at 1,500.
Yeah. So we're going back to the other point actually you said earlier, Nicole, that you need to do research. Even now, you need to keep checking.
Yes.
How does my pricing compare with the neighborhood?
And that was one of the mistakes we made.
Yeah.
We didn't actually research, because now for us we had this particular supplier who was supplying for us,
Yeah.
but his prices were more expensive than what the market was
So
offering.
you are getting a transfer of pricing from
Yes.
the person who delivers and making yours expensive.
Yes.
And it makes me come to think also, if we go back to what you said earlier, if I am calculating my cost, cost of, even in your case, the example we have just given, cost of acquisition of a product, and at the end of the day, I am finding that rent, I'm not able to meet my rent. I'm not able to meet the basic operational costs. Might it be that the cost of my product or service is low? That I'm checking, that my costs are higher than my income.
Yeah.
And that therefore I keep records.
Yes.
We discussed record keeping the other day. And in keeping records, you are looking, okay, the income that is coming in is not equal to my expenditure.
Your expenditure.
Is it only about the expenditure or is it about my sales price? I'm not getting enough income, therefore. I'm just thinking with you here that bookkeeping would give us an idea.
Yes.
Even for your boutique, you are taking care, you are noticing and say, in my books, something is not adding up.
Yeah.
Is it because I'm spending too much, or is it I am underpricing or overpricing and I'm losing clientele?
I think both factors really play into consideration. Sometimes it can be overpricing, sometimes it can be underpricing, because there are times where we've lacked, like we didn't even literally have enough money to pay for power, and yet, you know, those things need
and
to
yet
be
you seem to be
running.
making money.
Yes. Yeah, and yet you even have drinks that need to be in the fridge all the time. They need to be kept cold.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, Banange, but what's happening? I was also noticing that even the profits that we were making were really being compromised. And so when I went back to the records, I saw we again had a lot of debts.
Yeah.
Meaning again, also the person that was in the shop selling that time had given to like almost 5 customers things, and they had not paid back.
So record keeping was very important in this
Yes.
case. Okay, let's take our final question. How would I navigate in the space where there is price speculation? Speculation here, there is no reference price. People are setting prices the way they want. For instance, you can go downtown and a certain pair of shoes, everybody has their price. How do I get it right when everybody is setting their own price? There's no reference.
I think that one, it's also anyway tricky, but I think maybe the key thing would also be to look at first of you just look at your own expenses that you're going through, because how are you getting that product? Look at that time, where you're getting it from. You know, maybe also even the materials, depending on whether it's a cloth that you're selling. If you're someone who manufactures, how much are you paying those people? If you have to incur taxes and all of that. So I think those are things that you just have to keep in mind, so that way it can kind of guide you on setting up your own price.
Going back to the basics.
Yes, basically, go back to the basics.
But I'm selling land or a house. I know you're not a real estate, but I'm selling land in some suburb. And some broker says 10 million, it's 9. It's still the pricing of my item I'm going to sell, rather the land, maybe a house. Is there a way, what do you know, is there a way I can get a good deal without underpricing or overpricing and chasing away customers? Again, that is speculation.
Yes, that is speculation. I think now for that one, for that case, just do your research.
Yes.
Do your research, because for me also one of the key things that I believe in pricing, sometimes it's not just about pricing out of emotions or pricing out of maybe fear to lose customers, but it's also for sustainability.
Yes.
Do you have proper systems in place? Because a lot of businesses usually struggle due to lack of proper structures and systems.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it affects even your business from lasting. And then the other thing is, even depending on also the prices that you're coming up with, is there consistency? Because people usually trust consistency with time. And if you need to adjust your pricing, then inform also your customers clearly about that. That is something that can be able to help your business thrive for a longer period of time.
My takeaway therefore, systems, and I love what you said there, consistency.
Yeah.
So I know I'm going to Nicole and I'm going to find the same price like I found. I'm not going to find different prices when I come.
Yes. Regardless of the situations, regardless of whether there's inflation or what, you try to keep your prices consistent, because that's what is even going to differentiate you in the market.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, teacher, for taking us to class. We have said many things in terms of pricing, and you need to have listened carefully to know some of the things you can follow so that you get the pricing right. And we found that pricing goods might be simpler than services. However, bottom line, have systems, do research, do your homework, and listen to the customer feedback if you're going to get your pricing right. That was the link. Thank you for joining us tonight.